Welcome to Hellens. We work here to grow an environment where everyone is encouraged to be curious, to learn and to have fun through our events and activities. We strive to do that in a way that celebrates and respects the legacy of this beautiful home. And what is most important to us, we aim to do that in a way that is sustainable, collaborative and cooperative. Through the work of the Pennington Mellon Munty Charity Trust, we are continuing a 1,000-year tradition of providing at Hellens nourishment for bodies and souls. Through our concerts, weekend retreats, celebrations, poetry and cake. During the First World War, Hellens was a home for convalescing soldiers, and now we offer sanctuary to people seeking beautiful outdoor space after lockdown. Hellens Garden Festival exactly fits our ethos, which is why it is the highlight in our annual calendar. The beneficiaries of the Garden Festival are particularly close to our hearts: St Michael's Hospice and Back to the Wild, which uses our own ancient woodland to bring young people closer to nature.
I've created this map to give visitors an indication of the different areas to the garden, but also allowing for the freedom for you to explore wherever you may wish. So there's no set route, just a series of illustrations to make sure that you don't miss any aspect of the garden. The flip side of the map will also give you information about these different areas in more detail. I hope you enjoy the gardens as much as I do, and the map gives you a little memento from your visit.
Okay, so here we are in the Long Garden. The Long Garden, I think it's one of the loveliest parts of the gardens at Hellens. It's a really lovely mix of the formal. So in the box parterres over here, we have single flowering species roses, which look absolutely stunning when they're in flower. And then we move over towards this part of the garden, where you'll see a far more informal mix of plants. Most of the plants that you'll see in the borders in this garden have been grown here at Hellens, usually from seed. It means that we can access a lot more of the unusual plants. Well, one of the main criteria for introducing plants into this part of the garden is that they should be nectar rich. We're trying to create the best habitat we possibly can to benefit insect life. Let's look at some of the plants we have here at Hellens. So this bed was extended a couple of years ago. Again, it's a great benefit to the insect population, but also hopefully, it's a benefit to us as well. You'll see that we have some beautiful plants here, such as the Achilleas, Monadas. One of my personal favourites is the Cassinanch. Have also Sedalcias, and if you see the orange flowers over here, that's actually Helenium, Helen's flower, so that's most appropriate to having it here.
So I'm here in Hellens' Physic Garden. Now, physic or apothecaries gardens have been around for a number of centuries. They really started in the monastic tradition, and monks would have had on site by the monastery, they would have been growing plants for use as medicines. And over the centuries, large houses took on that same tradition, and Hellens here has got this kind of cloistered garden very close to the back wall of the house, where not only culinary plants would have been grown, but also plants for medicine, for brewing, for strewing. So the research for the plants that were to take place in here really came from the tradition of great herbals, so the 15th to 17th centuries. It was always intended that the garden would be a kind of educational and informative space as well, but to have a little bit of signage, just a sentence or so, that would let people know what the plant is and perhaps some of its uses, some of its history, some of its folklore. So the Physic Garden has got these key 8 beds. We've got the first aid bed, a scents and still room bed, a bed full of dye plants, the love and fertility bed, astrological plants, native British medicines, psychological and pharmaceutical. Here in the pharmaceutical bed we've got beautiful creamy white blooms of Meadow sweet. Meadow sweet is Filipendula ulmaria, and Meadow sweet has got high content of salicylic acid, much like willow, and actually is what they originally derived aspirin from. Interestingly, they also used meadow sweet to flavour mead, and it was Meadow sweet as part of its common name. This stone circle in the middle of our ancient Wildflower meadow looks as though it may have been here for millennia, but in fact it was built in 2016, inspired by our Chair of the Trust, Adam Munty's love of poetry. Each stone is carved with a short poetic extract, and the name of the poet is carved on the back of each stone. Hell is empty, all the devils are here. A very timeless and pertinent message. Some of them inspire stillness and contemplation, such as this one by T.S. Eliot, carved by Leda Kindersley. Teach us to sit still, even among these rocks. This one by Idris Shah has given a lot of people comfort over the last few months. This too will pass. A very simple, very hopeful message.
vegetable gardens, and this is my favourite part of the grounds here at Hellens, and I've been lucky enough over the last few months to work alongside the gardening team here. The team here try to use a minimal dig approach to all the gardening. This is so that we don't do any damage to the actual soil structure. The soil on the site here is very heavy clay-based soil. As you can see, it's really hard to break it down. So what the gardening team have done here at Hellens is actually built this raised bed system, and they've used all their own compost on site and filled beds with their own compost. So you can see here that the soil is actually much more looser, much more finely structured. And we also use some companion planting schemes where we plant things together that work well or stop pests. But we use nematodes in the soil. The nematodes are tiny microscopic worms that keep the slugs at bay. So this all helps to keep us organic as possible. It's been a real pleasure for me to be able to work in the gardens here at Hellens, and nothing for me is more rewarding than nurturing the tiny seeds and to be able to produce and eat your own vegetables.
Hello, my name's David. I'm the head gardener here at Hellens. What we have here is a very special and unique Perry-pear avenue, originally planted in 1702 to celebrate the coronation of Queen Anne. We're very lucky at Hellens in as much that we have one surviving tree each of a particular variety that is actually particular to Hellens, those being Hellens Green, Hellens Early, and the tree that I'm standing in front of here is a waterlug. This is a very special tree indeed, because we believe that this waterlug that we're standing next to is the original waterlug. It's the mother of all waterlugs everywhere. And if this waterlug was a small furry animal, people would be crawling over themselves in order to protect it. So if ever you come across a waterlug, then it originates from this particular tree that we have here. And it still crops heavily every year, which is great for us at Hellens, because what it means is that we can make our perry every year, which we do in the mill house using a mill wheel and a press originating from about 1840. We also make pear juice as well out of these very perry pears here. Now it's said that I don't know if we can see it today, but it's said that for a perry pear to thrive, it has to be in sight of May Hill. Well, we're quite lucky here, because just beyond the trees over in the distance there sits May Hill. And it's an interesting fact that all the modern varieties, what we think of as modern varieties, dating from about the 1700s, most of those varieties originate from May Hill and the parishes around May Hill. So one recent addition that we have here at Hellens are two new wildflower meadows either side of the drive. We sowed these about 2 years ago. Meadows typically take about 3 to 4 years to get established, but we're already seeing real benefits with certain flowers such as yarrow, mallow, campions, poppies. We're seeing a lot of wildlife, we're seeing a lot of insect life here, and I think it's going to be really exciting to see how these meadows develop over the next few years.
I'm here at Hellens Manor, and of course many of you will know this place from the Garden Festival. I love it here, I've always loved it here, and recently I've been asked to come up with a design for this space that we're in, for a new garden at Hellens. I suppose I've been designing gardens for about 25 years now, and they've always had this therapeutic element. But 2 years ago it became personal for me, because I was in 2018 diagnosed with a blood cancer, having been very healthy up to then. And so treatment begins, as you know, and you'll know from friends that have had it, that the hospital takes over your life. You have to have a period in complete isolation, locked down in this hospital. And what I remember from that time, other than seeing friends, was this one tree. There was this one tree that I could shuffle to from my lockdown ward when the hospital was quiet, and I went and I watched this tree change into its autumn colour, and it was an absolute lifeline for me. And it makes me realise again that we need to connect and reconnect with nature. And that is what this garden is going to be all about. It's going to be about that connection and reconnection, and I would say healing space with nature. So the centre is this fantastic sculpture by Nick Stevens. It circles around, it has this lovely little flick, which I want to use, and it'll be standing in the middle and you'll sort of glimpse it. And this garden will hug you in. I want it to hug you in. I want you to be able to experience it close up. And it's all based on the Fibonacci sequence, which it's a mathematical sequence, but it explains to us how nature grows, how plants grow, and it's that beautiful spiral that you can see in sunflowers, in all sorts of plants. And so the whole garden is going to be based on that. So you can see on this 3D sketch, here's the lovely Nick Stevens sculpture in the middle, and then this flick goes round and into this bench here, this curved bench, so you'll be able to get really close to this sculpture. Then the whole thing sweeps round in this Fibonacci spiral round the garden, and these different areas where you sit will feel like you're being hugged. I just wanted to show you on this sunflower head, I've been talking a lot about Fibonacci. Beautiful way that this sunflower is growing is the Fibonacci spiral, and it's so intricate, it's so gorgeous, and can't wait to see it happen.
So, I was just wondering,
A bit old now, but it's cute. Hopefully when you come into this garden, you will know instinctively from its balance and its beauty that it's all about you reconnecting with nature. So I'm very honoured to be here, I'm very honoured to be creating a garden, and what we plan to do, we'll start it this autumn, hopefully open it next spring so you can come and enjoy it, but we'll be telling the story as we go along.